Jump Force Season 2 DLC has been awesome. 4 weeks after the release, Shoto Todoroki has been the most fun character to play out of all the DLC characters thus far in Jump Force Season 2 DLC. But that remains the question. Who are the remaining 4 characters from Yuyu Hakusho, Bleach, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, and Hunter x Hunter? Well, we're going to be discussing that in today's Jump Force Season 2 DLC video. But before I do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, enable all notifications for the #1 anime game in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 Fighters and Jump Force channel on YouTube and the internet. Of course, the quality is in the name itself, perfection, and let's jump right into it. So the first series we're going to actually be going into is Yuyu Hakusho, and we're going to pull a fan favorite character from that Dark Tournament saga, and of course we're going to be talking about a character that is often compared to Yusuke Urameshi himself, a chief rival from that Dark Tournament saga. Of course, we're talking about Jin. Now, Jin is a character that would solve a problem that we currently have in Jump Force, and that is the lack of wind affinity techniques. Literally, this affinity has the least amount of techniques dedicated towards it. We don't even have an ultimate slot for it. We have 2 moves. We have Zoro's move, and we have, I think, Boo's move is indicated to be wind. But this is where Jin comes into play. With him being a wind affinity character, he has the potential to help flesh out that particular move slot or category of moves in Jump Force. So the first technique that we're going to be talking about is his Tornado Fist. And I envision this working pretty similarly to Seiya's technique, the Pegasus Meteor Fist, or which one that launches himself at the opponent from a range. I see that happening with Tornado Fist, except in its execution being a lot faster than what Seiya's technique is. Since he is using wind to propel himself, I can imagine this technique also doing more damage and also potentially hurling the opponent across the map and potentially setting up for an ultimate technique. So the Tornado Fist would help Jin set up for his ult, set up for different moves, and on CAC it would be the quintessential ultimate setup technique that would be universal for all characters. Now, moving on to his next technique, which is more of a defensive technique because we need to have him functioning at different strategies, is the wind barrier. So basically, it's pretty much as the name suggests, he creates a barrier around himself made of wind. The only difference I see with this is that it would hurl the attack back at the opponent. So you create a wind barrier, and let's say someone uses Fireball or uses Trunks' Finish Buster technique or what have you. It would take that projectile and bounce it back at the opponent. Now, all other techniques would just be blocked and maybe do a little ripping combo. So if someone does Chidori, obviously you can't launch a Chidori back at the opponent. So in this case, it would work like a cinematic move, sort of like Kakashi's, where it like rips the opponent up into the air or something like that. But with projectiles, uniquely, it would launch those techniques back at the opponent. Also, with ultimate techniques, it would block the technique altogether. So this would be a very good defensive technique for Jin to have. It would make him a very unique character in that aspect. Now, his third move, it's pretty cheap, but it would be double Tornado Fist. And it would be even better than the first Tornado Fist. So he hits the opponent with the first Tornado Fist, right? And regardless of whether it hits or misses, if it misses, you get a second chance to hit them with another Tornado Fist. Now, if it hits, you hit them with a second Tornado Fist. Regardless, it's double Tornado Fist. It would just be that if you missed the first one, you would get the hit and get the damage of 1 Tornado Fist. However, if you hit it, you get double the damage as if you did 2 Tornado Fists. Again, we're making this character uber unique, and I feel like I just done that with this character. Now, finally, nothing too fancy here. His ultimate would be the Tornado Fist Explosion. And if you saw Yu Yu Hakusho, you know that this would be a very sought after ultimate technique for CACs. It would be very cinematic in Jump Force. And I mean, honestly, it's just an even better Tornado Fist with trumped up cinematics. And I feel like cinematics are a very important part of any ultimate. You gotta add some shine. with that ultimate. So finally, his awakening, the way that I see it, is his flight ability. Like, I would love to have him have flight throughout his entire moveset, just have him levitating across the map, but I think that would be a little bit too much. So his awakening would be all about mobility, and like every other character with awakening, it would last for the duration of the match as long as he hasn't, you know, bit the big one. So that's what I have envisioned for Jin for Yu Yu Hakusho. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and we're going to be moving right along to Bleach. So the Jump Force Season 2 DLC candidate for Bleach is going to be Candice Catnip from the 1,000 Years War arc. And of course, with her being a Quincy, she does have an assortment of abilities that are going to make her a very viable character for Jump Force, and someone that I can see the community loving coming into the game, just like they love Shoto Todoroki. So her first ability is going to be the quintessential Quincy ability, the Holy Bow. And there's nothing too complicated about this ability. I can see it being a long and mid-range technique that would be able to hit the opponent if they are at a distance. This is being added as your typical projectile technique to combat runners. And the only difference that I can see with this technique is giving it enhanced tracking. So if someone's just going to jump, move around, do that kind of thing, then this ability is going to be chief in tracking them, and it's going to be chief in making them come and pursue a hand-to-hand combat match. Also, the special ability that I would give this technique is that it would hit despite them blocking. Because again, the next thing that people are going to do, they're going to block, jump block, do anything just to negate damage, and I feel like that's going to be the problem with most projectile techniques that won't make people actually fight. So this is going to be a way to make people actually pursue a hand-to-hand combat match. Now her next technique is going to be another projectile technique, and it's her Galvano Blast. And it's going to function differently from her Holy Bow. Her Holy Bow is going to be able to pierce block, but Galvano Blast isn't. But in exchange for not being able to pierce guard, it's going to have enhanced damage. Her third technique is going to be her Lightning Sword combo. So throughout all of her physical combos, her hand-to-hand combos, she's going to be using her Lightning Sword. So this is going to be somewhat of like Ichigo's technique, where she like dashes at the opponent and does a Lightning Sword combo. And I imagine this technique would leave them stunned at the end of it. Since it is a Lightning Sword combo attack, it is going to have paralysis at the end of it, so it can be a combo continuation technique or a ult setup, whichever the user would decide. Again, this would make her an open character that would give her endless possibilities with her combos, and would make her someone that anyone can pick up and play. Now her ult is going to be her Galvano Javelin, and it would be her throwing a Lightning Sword at the opponent. So it would be a projectile ultimate, similar to Rio's, where he just takes out the rocket launcher and fires a technique. So Candice Catnip would be able to take out a Lightning Sword, throw it at the opponent like a projectile technique, and then proceed to do her ultimate technique. As for her awakening, it would be her Volstandi, and I might be just butchering the pronunciation of that, but it would be her Lightning Wing form from the 1,000 Years War arc. And it would be her just using enhanced lightning swords that would stun the opponent in every bit of her combo, that would make her a dangerous opponent to fight one-on-one, hand-to-hand. So she would be a range fighter, non-awakened, and it would make her a danger. But when she does awaken, she would get her lightning swords, her lightning wings, and would make her a danger at close range too. So you have a full coverage character and Candice Catnip for the Bleach representative for Jump Force Season 2 DLC. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will add it in a future video. Now we're going to be moving on to JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Now we've added all the Jo stars, of course Joseph, Jonathan, Jotaro, of course Giorno, and only a character that we haven't discussed is Johnny Joestar from Steel Ball Run, and of course Josuke and his other Part 7 counterpart from JoJolion. So we ran out of Joestars to talk about, so we got to move on to some of the interesting side characters that are still very important and very much fan favorites in the community. Of course, we're going to be talking about one of the recents. Of course, we're talking about Bucciarati Bruno and his stand Zipper Man, or in the actual manga they call him Sticky Fingers, so I don't actually know why they changed his name, but bear with me here. So the first technique that I could see Zipper Man, aka Bucciarati Bruno, using is a rocket punch. And when I say rocket punch, it would actually be a zipper punch where he detaches his arm, launches it at the opponent across the map, and pops them for big damage. Now, this is going to be your move that helps fight people at mid to long ranges. You know what we're talking about here. We're talking about people that like to camp across the map, and this is going to be the technique that kind of combats that kind of play style. Also, I want to see the technique doing huge chunks of damage to help emphasize the point and the need of the opponent to do close combat in the match. This is going to help prevent running, and this is going to help prevent camping. So moving on to his second technique, I want it to be a counter technique. So it's going to be called the zipper counter. So basically, Bucciarati would open a zipper portal in front of himself and counter all abilities launched towards him. Yes, every single ability. Let me explain. This technique is added to help combat spamming, and it would function like this. So with physical techniques, the opponent would run into the zipper portal and be turned around in the opposite direction, and it would do no damage. Simple enough. It's a simple counter. So let's say Ichigo does his little rush sword technique. He would be turned in the opposite direction, and he would simply waste his gauge and would do no damage. But with techniques of the projectile variety, it would work as a damaging counter. Let me explain. So let's say that Sasuke or Naruto use their projectile techniques, like the Rasen Shuriken, for example. Bucciarati would use his Zipperman counter, and it would turn the projectile technique back at the firing user, and it would do double the damage of the original technique. This is meant to help combat spamming, distance spamming, people that like to throw multiple Rasen Shurikens. Once you get hit with enough Zipperman counters, I imagine that you're not going to be throwing out that technique so haphazardly. Also, this would work on ultimates. So let me explain. Now, you would not get the cinematics of the ultimate, but you would get the damage done at you of what the ultimate would be. So let's say that Naruto does his tail beast bomb. Bucciarati uses the Zipperman counter. You get hit with your own attack, and of course it would not do the cinematics, it would simply do the damage. This is going to help emphasize the need for people to do combos, because if you put Bucciarati in a combo, then he can't use the Zipperman counter. So you're actually using the ultimate techniques the way that they were devised to be used in combos. But if you're just firing out techniques from a distance, spamming them, and all that sort, then you're actually going to be doing a disservice to yourself if Bucciarati is on the map, because he could simply turn those techniques against you. And this again is added to combat spamming. Now we're going to move on to his ultimate technique and the last part of his moveset, and I'm going to call it Arrivederci. So it's his typical Muda or technique, but with Zipperman, where he does a flurry of punches. And I wanted this to be his ultimate, have a cinematic style or technique, and I feel like this would fit Bucciarati, and this would be his ult. So Arrivederci, you hit someone with the ult, you hit him with Arrivederci, and that's how I have Bucciarati Bruno. And that's how I have Bucciarati Bruno envisioned in Jump Force Season 2 DLC. Now moving on to Hunter x Hunter, and I feel like the most important character of this selection. Of course, we have to be talking about the most important character in the Hunter exams, the Pink Punisher herself, Leroot. Yes, and more yes. I feel like we need another female representative, and especially this being the first one for the Hunter x Hunter anime or manga, I feel like she would serve a very prominent position in that status. And she's a very smart, analytical character, one that would be based in strategy, which I feel like would be very important for a Hunter x Hunter character, and more importantly a Jump Force Season 2 DLC character. And I feel like her model would look great in the Jump Force graphical engine. So let me know what you think about that selection and all the selections in today's video. Of course, I've been your perfect being and the #1 anime gaming Dragon Ball, Xenoverse 2 Fighters, and Jump Force channel on YouTube and the internet. Of course, the quality is in the name itself, perfection. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell, join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, all social media at the links down below. I will see you guys and see your comments in future videos. Peace.